Hey, I'm Judy Stout. I'm out here at the Mobile Botanical Gardens. I want to take a few minutes today to talk about trees that you might find useful in your yard. I really want to excite you a little bit because we're getting ready to have a sale on our trees out here at the gardens. And Mobile is one of the richest states in the Union for numbers and diversities of trees, and so we have a lot going for us. And here in South Alabama, we can grow semi-tropical trees, temperate trees. We can grow a lot of things, and we also have a large number of natives that are really suitable. So I hope you'll look at your yard while you're out meditating or exercising outside, and look where you'd like to have a shade tree, or you'd like to have a landscape feature by a tree. And then go online and look at our shopping list. You can shop online, pick out what you want, order it, pay for it, no handling of money, no writing of checks, handling pens, and then set a time and come pick it up and we'll put it in your car. You don't even have to get out. So I just wanted to talk about a few of them. I'm just going to stroll through what we have here now and talk about a few of them. It won't be everything, and it won't be everything that's on the list. So if you see something else on the list you're interested in, go ahead and pick it out. Pay for it. Come get it. Okay, let's just look at a few of the things we have here. This is a really unique tree, and we may want to get a picture of the flowers because the flowers are the real selling point. It's called mountain gordlinia, and it's in the camellia family, in the family with our camellias. It grows to be about 20 feet tall or so. It's very unique. It makes a great single feature tree, something that will bloom early in the spring for you and just be a real highlight, a real eye catcher. We have a lot of oaks for sale. Someone asked us a question online a week or two ago. What kind of plants, trees, and shrubs do you have that would be helpful in supporting pollinators? And most people don't think of trees as supporting pollinators. They think of small perennials or annuals. Almost all of our oaks have a whole variety of pollinators that, although we're lamenting the fact the pollen is inciting our asthma or our allergies and getting all over our cars, the pollinators are all over the oak trees, gathering pollen and nectar. We have a variety here. This one, I believe, is willow oak. Yes, willow oak has little small willow-shaped leaves, and is one of the fastest growing of our oak trees. We've actually used it where we have had trees go down, where we valued the shade and lamented the loss of them. Willow oak grows really quickly. It also, the leaves give you some nice fall color, kind of bronzy looking, so that's one to look at. We'll run across some other oaks as we go along. These here, and we have them from two different growers, so they're look different. They're in different kinds of pots. You'll notice some of them are in squat pots, some of them are in tall pots. This is a wild persimmon, and if you've had experience as a child, you may have experienced the displeasure of picking a wild persimmon before it was too ripe. But when they are ripe, they are the sweetest. They're about, ping pong ball size. They're also very colorful, so they give you some color in your landscape when it's fruiting. Let me say, when I'm looking at these pots, you see a lot of our trees are in the larger 3 and 5 gallon pots, and then we have some that are in the tall pots. It's very important when you're planting a tree that you give it enough space in the ground for its roots to grow. And look at the size of the pot. Generally dig your hole twice as big as the pot. When you take it out of the pot, without doing severe damage to the roots, spread the roots out some, so you're encouraging them, you're telling them, you're out of the pot now, you can grow, get going. And so they've got that nice new hole. You've augmented it with compost or black cow or black hen, some of the potting soil perhaps, and added it back to the hole when you put it in there. Water it in real good, and make sure, especially this time of year as you're planting anything, that you water well and frequently. Now, the hole should be twice as big as the pot, but don't plant it any deeper than the tree is in the pot. And that'll get you going real well, I think. We have several kinds of magnolias. You should also, when you're looking around your yard and considering coming out here to buy a tree, what kind of tree are you looking for? Are you looking for one that'll provide shade all year long, or that will lose its leaves in the wintertime so that the sun warms your house, warms your yard? Do you have wet conditions? Do you have real dry conditions? Is it full sun or is it shaded? And all of those things will affect the health of that tree as you enjoy it and hopefully are successful in planting it and keeping it in your landscape. I mentioned that because this is a Sweet Bay magnolia. It's a native, and it has small, creamy, magnolia-shaped flowers that have that faint lemony smell that we so appreciate with our big southern magnolias. But this is a guy that likes moist soils. So if you've got an area that has too much moisture and you want to wick some of that moisture up out of the soil, and yet you want some successful plants in it, Sweet Bay magnolia would be one of the great ones. And I'll point out a few others that will do well in moist soil. Here we have another oak. This one is, the cherry bark oak. This one is also called, we got a maple invading here. This one is also called pagoda oak because the shape of the canopy and the wings tend to look like the architecture on a pagoda. So they're really, really neat. It also has nice color in the fall, and it's a good pollinator tree. Grows pretty quickly too. Oh, here's another one that can tolerate moist soils, but it also does well in your general yard landscape. And this is the red maple. And these are baby leaves. You can see as the leaves come out in the spring, they're kind of reddish color. But it's called red maple for two reasons. In the spring, the flowers come out before the leaves come out because it is deciduous, loses its leaves in the wintertime. And the flowers are little two-winged red things that if you pick them off and drop them in front of your grandchildren, they look like red helicopters spiraling down to the ground. So you can look into a canopy of red maple with no leaves and they look red. But then in the fall, as it's beginning to lose its green color, its leaves will turn anywhere from golden yellow to bronze to bright red to almost chocolate red, really dark. So it's a tree that looks good a lot of times in a lot of ways in your landscape. Shoemart oak. This is a large oak. It's in the red oak group. And it's another one that's really, really good for fall color. It doesn't grow as fast as some of the others, such as the willow oak, and it gets very tall. So another thing in choosing what tree you're looking for, not only are the soil conditions and the sun conditions, but how much room have you got? How much room have you got vertically, which people think of kind of automatically. But for some of these, you need to think about how much room you've got side to side, because you don't want to plant it too close to your house, too close to your driveway, or too close to other plants that you value. But this is a really nice fall color tree, and it's one, if you have a larger yard, a larger piece of property, will just be beautiful for years and years. Oh, another wetland plant. This is a weeping willow. And you've probably read stories, childhood stories, or your grandmother had weeping willows. And they do grow in moist conditions, even in wet conditions. And as the tree matures, you can already see on this big one here, these larger limbs are starting to arch downward or weep. So in consideration of the space you need for this tree, it's how wide are those weeping limbs going to be. So you need it, it's often a feature plant in your landscape. Very, very delicate and very beautiful. We have some smaller magnolias that are not native. We have a number of them. This is one of the saucer magnolias, and also called Japanese magnolias. And you see them, oh, they were wonderful this spring in people's yards as they were blooming. Oh, this is a beautiful fall color. This is one, oh my goodness, we've got some variegation in the leaves here. This is ginkgo, which you may have heard of. It's a very, very ancient Asian plant, grows very, very slowly, very strange shaped leaves. It's probably the only plant that the male sperm cells act like animal sperm cells, and they swim to the female fruit as they fall on the ground. So it's very ancient. Sometimes they call it a fossil plant. And in fact, you can find the leaves in the fossil record quite far back. But this one, as I say, is variegated, which is gorgeous. That variegation will give you some idea of what fall color is in the ginkgo. Ginkgo is just brilliant, brilliant golden yellow in the fall. Seems to all leaves turn at the same time. They all fall off the tree at the same time. So it looks like it's rained golden leaves under the ginkgo tree. It grows very slowly, but it's worth the wait. Now these are all various kinds of crepe myrtle, and crepe myrtle's become a very, very popular landscape tree in the Mobile area. Roadside trees, sometimes in parking lots. If you go down University Boulevard, you'll see how successful they've been with a number of different crepe myrtles. They require some pruning to look nice and grow tall and shapely. They do not require chopping the tops off, often called by those who really care about crepe myrtles, crepe myrta. So you do not need to chop the tops off and make bulbous cysts that then make sprouts come out. If you've already done that, let them grow out. But the pruning, you can go into the branches and everything and begin to design what you want that architecture to look like when it matures, because when it loses its leaves, it's very, very attractive just because the shapes and arrangements of the branches. It also, depending on the variety, has a number of different color variations in the leaves in the fall. Most people don't think of South Alabama as having fall color, but we certainly do. We've got the ginkgo, we got the red maple, we got crepe myrtles. Oh, what else have we got here? Oh, we're into shrubs now. I don't know what this guy is. Oh, goodness. I don't know it because I mostly do natives. This is a spectacular spring flowering plant before the leaves come out. This is one of our Asian cherries, Taiwan cherry. They grow very easily as seedlings, so you might even get a crop of them in your yard if you plant one. Beautiful, beautiful flowers in the early spring. After that, they're just kind of a nice green plant. Let's walk around the table and look and see what's on the other side. Like I see, you see these sitting here. Pretty soon we're going to be announcing a tree sale. So start thinking about what we've got out here. When you think of coastal Alabama, most people think of either longleaf pines, which are kind of our iconic pine tree for all of coastal southeastern United States. But there are probably 6 or 7 other native pine trees to choose from. One I really, really like, which is very seldom used, and it's often hard to find. I'm surprised that we're able, now that we have found vendors for it and can bring it in regularly for plant sales. This is a spruce pine. The thing I like about it, you can see it's short needled, so it doesn't produce as dense a litter fall as a longleaf pine would, probably a third of the length of a longleaf pine needle. But as it matures, it's small. It doesn't grow nearly as tall as our other pines. It has this wonderful kind of oval or pear-shaped canopy. So it's a pine tree that has a nice canopy rather than just a lot of vertical growth. It's just really, really beautiful. kinds of hollies, and I don't know whether to call a holly a shrub or a tree, and I guess it depends on which one you buy. If you let them go, they can grow quite tall. So this is one of our natives, Caecilian holly, and you can already see this one's covered with flower buds. The thing about hollies, and some people are disappointed when they buy a holly for Christmas decorations, is that hollies have boy trees and girl trees. And you don't know when you're buying it whether you're getting a boy or a girl unless the nurseryman has deliberately raised them separately from cuttings. And only the girls are going to have the berries. Some of our hollies are evergreen, so if you're looking for greenery in your landscape year-round, look for an evergreen holly. Some of them are deciduous. Oh, here's another wetland plant here, and a lazy plant. This is our river birch. It likes its feet moist or wet. It can stand a lot of moisture. The ones we have here for sale now are multi-trunked, so they will grow as a cluster in your yard. Occasionally we can get them where they have single trunks and grow up as a tree. But this gives you a lot more wicking power, pulling that moisture out of the soil. It has another neat feature in that as it matures and gets larger, the bark exfoliates or falls off of it. You've probably read all the old novels about the birch bark canoes, etc. This is not the species they made them out of, but the bark flakes off. Kids love to make fairy houses out of it and things like that. This is the dawn redwood, which is not a native to our area. Meadow sequoia. Beautiful, beautiful tree, and it has beautiful fall color. I've not grown it, so I don't know a whole lot about its cultural requirements, but you can do that research and find out. This is one that's very popular with our hunters. This is the swamp chestnut oak. It's named that way because it grows in swamps, duh, and the leaves look like chestnut leaves, double duh. But it makes nice, large numbers of acorns as mast for deer, and also for hogs if you care about hogs. But oftentimes the hunters come and buy out our whole collection of swamp chestnut oaks. It's also a good pollinator support plant. Oh, here's a kind of a unique oak tree. This is called sand live oak. And some of the taxonomists have determined that probably the oak trees that line our parking lot are sand live oaks, although they don't at all look like they do in their natural environment. In the natural environment, you find them on beaches and sand dunes. And they have very, very old, thick trunks, very, very squat, sparse, struggling looking canopies, because sand dunes and beaches are so harsh an environment. But it turns out they do really, really well in a more domestic soil, in a soil and in a yard where you're taking a little bit better care of it than the sand dune. They have very small acorns. Their leaves are somewhat smaller. The edges of the leaves kind of curl under so you can tell them from live oaks. They entered the nursery business about 10 years ago because they are so hardy and they can stand harsh conditions. That may be a smaller oak that you want to consider. Oh, another wetland plant. This is swamp tupelo. It has a cousin, the black gum, that are both very, and I'm not sure whether we have any black gum or not, but we usually do. Both of those are very good moist wetland plants. Wonderful fall color. There's only one of these left. I just gave up bees because they keep swarming and leaving me. But this is another of the tupelo group, Ogeechee tupelo. Ogeechee from Florida, Georgia, I believe, was where it was found and named. If you've got bees, the nectar from particularly the boy flowers on the Geechee tupelo are supposed to make some of the best honey in the world. So we only have one left. So we've got honey there, we've got wild persimmons, what else? Here we've got black walnut, which is something that used to be very, very common around South Alabama. A lot of farms you would find at least one black walnut tree. And people who did woodwork would grow them for their wood. Their wood is very, very hard, but it gets a fungus in it. I think it's a fungus or a virus in it, which kind of marbles the wood on the inside. So you'll see walnut tables or flooring or whatever. Very, very hard and durable, but it already has this nice pattern in it. And it makes walnuts, so if you like walnuts. This is one of my favorites. And I like it because of its scientific name. Well, I love it. Look at the shape of the leaves. This is the yellow poplar, or commonly called the tulip tree, from the shape of the leaves. But I love the way, after you practice it, how the name rolls off your tongue. It's Liriodendron tulipifera, which I just love that name. It grows a very large tree. It grows very quickly, has kind of a very thin, smooth bark. Makes a wonderful shade tree in the summertime, but it is deciduous. And that's all of the yard type trees. We have, I take that back, we have a Chinese dogwood in our special connoisseur section over here. And we have a lot of citrus trees, blood oranges, Louisiana sweet oranges, Awari satsumas, the ever famous Meyer lemon, and a number of other things. Not only do they produce wonderful fruit in coastal Alabama, but they're beautiful landscape trees. They're evergreen. So if you've got a spot where you can put one that you grow it for harvesting, but it also will be a nice green feature in your yard, it's a wonderful thing to have. I think we have some olive trees that are supposed to grow olives in this area. I have one and it grows olives. I just don't know what to do with them. Yes. Whoever knew that this is what olive trees look like. Kind of grayish green foliage. Mine's about 12, 15 feet tall now. This one is getting ready to flower. I don't know if it has a variety on here or not. I don't think it does. What you want to, if you want to try olives, some are like the hollies. Some have boy plants and girl plants, and so you have to get both in order to have olives. This one is self-fertile, however. It has both boy and girl parts on the same plant, so you don't have to buy but one. But you need to double check that. And if your grower or the nursery you're buying it from doesn't know, I wouldn't buy it, because they should know that. Do we call figs a tree? I guess we do. We had several varieties. What do we got left here? O'Rourke, we had brown turkey, we had Celeste, not sure what all we've got left here, but a whole variety of wonderful figs for this climate here. So you may want to come check those out. They're online. You can figure out what they are. And these are all our citrus. Right now, that's kind of about all I can think of at the moment. So go check us out online, make an order, come pick it up, and we'll put it in the car for you. You won't even have to get your hands dirty. Enjoy. Thank you.